Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a horror movie review and I'll be having a look at the movie Shame the Devil. So Shame the Devil is basically a kind of, almost like a rip-off film of the Saw franchise. And essentially it tells a story of a serial killer who kind of uses sort of elaborate traps in the style of kind of the sort of Saw franchise, and basically gives the victims the chance to live by basically sort of telling a kind of game of truth, and ultimately if they lie, ultimately they'll sort of get killed by kind of one means or another. And the story really focuses on kind of the lead detective who's kind of investigating obviously these crimes, and this sort of takes him to from London to the US, ultimately in sort of search of answers, where he meets up with sort of an ex colleague and who also is an ex-lover of his, who can sort of try and help him in sort of unraveling the profile of this sort of mysterious sort of serial killer. And that's pretty much all I'll say on the plot, because there is a kind of a twist to this movie, and that's sort of giving too much away about the plot ultimately. Suffice to say, it's kind of, it's not so much a bad film, it's just a very kind of middling film. Now, before I get into too much sort of detail, I want to talk a little bit about the cover of this movie, because the cover of this movie is really, really misleading. When I first saw the cover of this film, I actually thought it looked a lot like a kind of almost like a scary movie parody film, the way the actual sort of cover is put together. And you know, it isn't, and even when you kind of get past that, again, it's misleading. You never really sort of see the serial killer actually kill anyone themselves. It's all sort of done remotely, and there's unlike the cover suggests, there's no female victims in this movie, and the actual hand as well is a little bit misleading. I kind of find these things a little bit unfair when you can, if you have seen this movie, when you kind of consider the twist. I think it's a little bit unfair, and it makes I think it gives the impression that this film is sort of cleverer than it really is. Because unfortunately, I have to say, one of the issues I had with this film is there are a few plot holes here and there, and I think the twist is fairly obvious. Actually, sort of watch the movie is kind of, you know, without sort of pointing the cues in case you haven't seen it to avoid spoilers. But I think it is fairly obvious. It's not a bad movie as such. There's not very much gore at all in this movie. The first kill, this is the beginning of the movie, so it's not too much of a spoiler. It is ultimately kind of the goriest kill that you'll see. And there's this guy kind of strapped to this, basically a shotgun to his head, and if he, you know, with a lie detector strapped to him, and if he lies, he'll sort of end up sort of shooting himself in the head, and obviously he does. This is the first kill. So that's pretty much kind of the only gory kill that you'll see in this film. All the rest of the kills are kind of ones where you just sort of see someone sort of flailing around the floor for one reason or another. So it's not a particularly horrific movie as such. Like I said, the parallels are very sort of obvious with Saw. The kind of the way the killer is basically sort of speaks to the victims sort of remotely, kind of using a voice changer, and that in itself is kind of a clue as to who the killer is. You know, it sounds just like Jigsaw. It really does. It's okay. The acting, that's all I had some issues with. It's a little bit inconsistent. You'll certainly, the main guy, I didn't think he was a particularly fantastic actor. And some of the kind of the other performances from the lesser, the sort of smaller cast, if that makes sense, again were wildly inconsistent. Now, it was actually written, directed by the same person. I didn't think the actual direction was too bad. I thought it was competently directed, and the framing and everything was good, and you know, it looked sort of fairly decent for a relatively low budget film. But I think the script was quite weak as well. When you sort of couple that with kind of some dodgy acting, it really doesn't do the film any sort of favours, and it kind of, the dialogue seems sort of very stilted and kind of forced and really unnatural in sort of certain places. It's not a bad movie. It really isn't a particularly memorable film though. So I have to give this one a kind of below average mark. So I want to go 4.5 out of 10. It's not terrible. You can do sort of worse if you kind of like your kind of serial killer movies. But there's not a lot really happens in this movie. It's kind of quite slow. Not really a gory film. It's more of a thriller, I suppose, than a horror, if I'm completely honest. 4.5. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.